How to create promissory notes and use
Okay,
the
learn
eight
with me.
essential steps
Thank
so
you for
that you don't
tuning
get in trouble and
in.
land yourself in
You
prison or
can
something like that by
learn
creating
with me
an
or
improper
go look up
promissory
this
note. But
information for yourself.
most
I'm just
people,
looking up
once they
promissory
create
notes
their
and he giving me
promissory
the
note,
steps
they
on
really
how to
want to
write
know,
a
well,
proper
what's the next
promissory
steps?
note.
How do I do
So
it?
like,
Do I just write out the
subscribe. You don't
promissory
gotta
note
share
and
because I
mail
know
it
people
in
don't like to share.
to the debt collector or to the lender, and poof, my car note is gone, or poof, my student loan is gone, or poof, my mortgage is gone? Man, wouldn't it be nice if things were that easy? But it doesn't work that way. And you'll notice that there's a lot of people on the internet who will say, oh man, these promissory notes don't work. And that's because they don't implement them properly, because they don't understand. They just think, okay, I've got a promissory note. I'll just put my QSIP number on it. I'll just fill it out and I'll write it out for the amount of the balance due. I'll mail it in and poof, everything, my child support will just be gone. My IRS will just be gone. But I mean, just think about it. I mean, you're grown enough to know that, yeah, right. There's for fill out, mail it in. It's gone. You're gonna get your free and clear title. I mean, do you? I know you go, yeah, that seems a little bit too easy, and that's because it is. Because you have to understand that there are three next steps as it relates to properly implementing your promissory note. There's some things that you need to grasp. So there's a process of grasping some things. There's a process of activating some things, and there's a process where you got to enforce some things, because they're not just going to lay down and go, oh well, you sent me a promissory note, let me send you a free and clear title to your $250,000 house, right? That it doesn't work that way. You may have to enforce, but you can't enforce
Can't be
if you
scared.
haven't
This ain't for the
activated
weak.
the proper process.
This is
You
not for the
can't
weak people. This
activate
is
the
not for
proper
people who just
process
trying to get
if
their
you don't really
bills
grasp and
paid.
understand what's going on. So let's get into it. I'm gonna give you like a quick training on what your next steps are
I need
insofar as
this.
your promissory note. So,
I'm on my
next
default
step is
letter.
to really grasp and understand that
Is
everything
a
in the public
contract.
realm, in the public arena, is about contract. I mean, I know you know that. So everything is about contract. So there's no way for you to just write a promissory note and mail it into them and have it work if you don't have a contract in place where they've agreed to accept your promissory note for the settling of the debt, right? You have to have a contract in place, a specific contract that says it, where you can point to it and say, hey, you agreed to this. Everything in the public arena works on contract. And every contract works on three things. And you already know this. You know that every contract contains the words, which are typically the terms and conditions, right? It contains the timeline, right? You got to do it by within such and such amount of days. Like when you get your car note or your mortgage note, it'll say, here's the term. I mean, it'll give the words on there. Here it is, your monthly mortgage statement. Please pay it by the 15th. Please pay this within 30 days. What they always give you a time frame. So when you create your contract where they're going to agree to accept your promissory note, you have to include the terms and conditions, which are the words, and you have to include the time frame that they got to do it in. But you also must include what's called performance, right? Here's the performance, right? You have to include the performances if they do what you ask, if there's a yes, and they do what you ask, or if there's a no and they don't do what you ask. You have to say, look, here's what's going on, here's your time frame to do it, and if you do what I ask, this is what follows, and if you don't do what I ask, that's what follows, right? That's called creating a contract, right? And so your next step as it relates to your promissory note is you gotta create a contract that says, okay, this is how it's gonna work. I need you to provide me with, and I want to talk about the words, because the words are going to include what I call an FEA, a forensic evidence analysis. Typically, what has to happen is that you need to write back to them and say, hey, I received your monthly mortgage statement or whatever it is. And hey, I noticed some defects in it. Now, when you read my ebook about the promissory note, you saw there were three different samples of forensic evidence analysis in there. You need to reach out to them and say, hey, look, I want to get this taken care of. It is not my intention to not pay anything. I want to get this thing settled. But I looked at your monthly mortgage statement, or I looked at your monthly car note, or I looked at your invoice, or I looked at your presentment, whatever it was, and I went through it and I ran a forensic evidence analysis on it, and I noticed that there were some defects. Now, because there's defects in it, it's possible that you're violating Title 18, 1001. Now, Title 18, and you can look this up, U.S. Title 18, 1001 says you can't knowingly and willingly send somebody what's called fraudulent defective information in the mail that you know is fraudulent and defective. So when you run the forensic evidence analysis on it, you're letting them know, I found the defects in it. Please fix the defects, right? And get back to me. Please fix the defects, these are your words, and get back to me within 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, whatever it is. Please get back to me with a corrected document so that I can go ahead and get this matter settled. Now, if you get back to me in the 30 days, if you, yes, get back to me within the 30 days, you're also agreeing that I can settle the matter with a promissory note, right? So if you get back to me within 30 days, you're agreeing that I can settle this matter with a promissory note. See, now our contract is coming in place, right? It's starting to form. But if you don't get back to me, you're agreeing that there is no debt, that I owe you nothing, and that this matter is settled, right? So please get back to me within 15 days. Please get back to me within 10 days. Please get back to me within 30 days. Please get back to me within 45 days. You decide the time frame of the days, right? Right? So you say, look, here's your terms and conditions of your contract, right? Everything, you got to grasp this understanding that everything in the public realm is about contract. I don't care if it's court. I don't care if it's a ticket on the side, a speeding ticket on the side of the road. I don't care if it's a presentment you get in the mail. All of it is a contract. All of it is an offer and acceptance process. So you got to grasp this idea that you just can't mail a promissory note in and say, I filled it out. Here's my payment. No, you have to have an express written contract in place that you've written the terms and they've agreed to the terms, right? And so that's the performance part. Yeah, here's my terms and conditions. I ran a forensic evidence analysis. Please correct it and send back to me within 15 days or whatever you do. If you get back to me, if you perform, right, and get back to me in 15 days, you're agreeing that I can settle this matter with a promissory note, negotiable instrument, promissory note. Great, awesome. If they get back to you and mail it back to you within 10 days, 30 days, whatever you tell them, then yeah, go ahead, write out the promissory note and settle the matter. Done. Your contract is complete. If they don't get back to you, right, then what you do is you have to begin to use this process here of activating a process. And the activating of that process is called the administrative process. Right? The administrative process. And I know you've heard about the administrative process. And many people talk about the administrative process, but many of them have no idea how to do it. There's people who are just on the internet who give information who don't have any knowledge, right? So over the last 3 years, I've worked with over 2,100 clients, right? This year, I'll hit my 3,000 client mark. And one of the basic foundational things that I do is I provide them with tips, the tools, the strategies, the templates, to fill in the blank, right? So they can create a proper administrative process. Now, most people tell you that an administrative process is a 3-part letter, right? That's why it doesn't work, because they don't know that there's a 4th letter that must be in place if you're ever going to enforce your promissory note or enforce the contract that you complete. So let's get to it. So in the administrative process, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 letters that you got to write. The first is what's called the conditional acceptance for value. Right? That says, thanks so much for sending your presentment to me, your monthly mortgage, your invoice, your statement, your child support, whatever it is. Thank you for sending me the statement and the monthly thing. I completely accept it on the condition, the conditional acceptance, on the condition that you fix the document. Because I ran a forensic evidence analysis on it, and I noticed there were some errors on it. And with the errors in there, it looks like you might be unintentionally or intentionally violating Title 18, 1001, which says that you can't send fraudulent, fictitious use of language through the mail like that and kind of try to collect on it. So I need you to fix that. So I accept everything that you're saying on the condition that you fix it. And if you fix it properly and get back to me in the 30 days, 15 days, whatever you gave them, promissory note. If you don't get back to me, you're agreeing that there is no debt, that I owe you nothing, and this matter is settled, right? So the conditional acceptance for value is the first letter, right? The second letter, and I want you to know that 99, here's the sad truth. 99.999% of the time, they are not going to get back to you because they're never going to be able to fix the document. They're never going to be able to validate the debt properly because you're also going to ask them to validate the debt properly, right? And you're going to ask them in a specific way. You're going to ask them for the accounting ledger, which shows that they had account number 123456789 and an account number 123456789 that belongs to the bank. They had $1 million in there at 9 a.m. that morning, right? And then the accounting ledger shows that at noon, when you closed on your house, that was a $500,000 house, that they loaned you the $500,000, and at the end of the day, they only had a $500,000 left because they loaned you the other half. Excuse me. That's called GAAP, generally accepted accounting practices. Just like you right now, if you were to go to the ATM, right, and let's say that you have $500 in your account, and you hit the buttons properly, put your PIN number in, and say, give me $100 out, right? And assume you're using your ATM at your bank, so there's no fees or charges. So you got $500 in there at noon, and then you show up on your lunch hour and you take $100 out, and then it's going to show your balance, $400, right? That's general accounting 1001, right? Here's the balance, you took a deduction. Here's your starting balance, you took a deduction. Here's your final balance. In the very same way, when you run your conditional acceptance and conditional acceptance of value, you're going to ask them to fix the document with the forensic evidence analysis, but you're going to also ask them, according to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, to provide you with the GAAP, to provide you with the accounting ledger that shows and provides proof that they actually loaned you money. And you know and I know they're not going to do that because it doesn't exist, because they never actually looked at the ledger that shows and provides proof according to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, to provide you with the GAAP, to provide you with the accounting ledger that shows and provides proof that they actually loaned you money. And you know and I know they're not going to do that because it doesn't exist, because they never actually loaned you money, right? You already know that. So we're not going to go into that. That's not the purpose of this training video, but you should already know that. If you don't know that, shoot me an email and we'll talk about it, right? But the other part about it is they're not going to fix the forensic evidence analysis. They're not going to provide you with the GAAP. They're not going to provide you with that. So 99% of the time, they just ain't going to get back to you, right? So your letter says, your conditional acceptance says, I accept your offer, your presentment on the condition that you get back to me and fix the language in this conditional, in the forensic evidence analysis, and that you provide me with the GAAP, right? So if you get back to me and provide the fixing of the forensic evidence analysis, and you provide me with a GAAP, yeah, if you get back to me within 30 days, 15 days, 45 days, whatever, you're agreeing that I can settle the matter with a promissory note. If you don't get back to me with that information within the time frame provided, you're agreeing that there is no debt. I want you to know, in 3 years working with over 2,100 clients, I've never once ever had anybody respond back and correct that forensic evidence analysis or get back and provide the gap. Never, right? So that lets you know it's highly unlikely that you're ever going to need a promissory note because they're never going to get back to you. Which means that, okay, if they don't get back to you, that means you're over here, right? There, if you don't get back to me, you're agreeing there is no debt. So what's going to happen is you're going to send your second letter in the administrative process that says this is the false and opportunity. Hey, it's been 30 days, like I said, right? I didn't hear back from you. I checked the balance, it still shows that I still owe $50,000 on this loan, right? It's not set at zero. But you haven't gotten back to me, which means that you're in fault, you have faulted, and I want to give you an opportunity to get it right. In case maybe you misunderstood what was being said in my first letter, in case you got backed up or whatever the case is, you didn't understand, let me give you, like you faulted, Let me give you 10 more days opportunity to clean it up, right? So please get back to me within 10 days and correct this document, the forensic evidence analysis, and provide me with the gap, right?
Oh, that was the end of that one. Sorry. Okay.
Within 10 days and correct this document, forensic evidence analysis, and provide me with the gap, right? Let me see the account where you had $1 million in there, where you loaned me $500,000, and at the end of the day, you only had $500,000 left, according to general account accepted accounting practice. So please get back to me and provide that within 10 days. If you don't now, and if you do get back to me with that, great. You're agreeing that I can settle the matter with a promissory note, which they won't get back. But you say, well, if you don't get back to me, you are definitely agreeing that there is no debt, that I owe you nothing, that you'll set this account balance to zero, and you'll send me my free and clear title to my car or my house or whatever it is. So please get back to me or no. If you do, you're agreeing to the promissory note acceptance. And if you don't, you're agreeing for sure there is no debt, I owe you nothing, and you'll send me my free and clear title, right? They're not going to get back to you. Just so you know, what's going to happen is you're going to need to send the third letter in this four-letter process, which is called the default, dishonor, and estoppel. Okay, I mailed you once, I mailed you twice, I haven't heard back at all. Therefore, you are now officially, you have accepted my contract that says that I owe you nothing. You are in default, you are in dishonor, and I'm stopping you from reaching out to me in any way regarding this bill, this debt, this presentment, because you've agreed through your non-response. By the way, according to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, when you ask somebody in mail within 30 days of receiving a presentment, they don't get back to you and validate the debt according to your written request, they owe you $1,000, right? I didn't make this rule up. You can look up the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, FDCPA yourself. Look it up yourself and see, don't they owe you $1,000? So you want to, with this third letter, you want to include an invoice. For $1,000. Right? And you want to include with it a copy of the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act that shows that you can charge $1,000. Because you don't ever want it to come across like it's your idea. It's a federal law. You didn't make it up, right? So you're in default, you're in dishonor, you are a stop, and I've included an invoice. Please pay that invoice to me within 10 days at the address above. If you don't, I may have to pursue this matter legally. But I don't want to do that. So please get back to me, set everything to zero, and pay the invoice at the address above. I want you to know, they're not going to get back to you. They're not going to pay you $1,000, and they're not going to set your account balance to zero. So you're going to have to send the fourth letter. Now, this is the one that nobody talks about because a lot of people, these gurus, they don't know about this letter. And there was a point where I didn't know, but now I know, and I'm sharing that with you. So your next letter is called the notice of pending. No. Suit. It's a notice of pending suit. You say, hey, I contacted you once, contacted you twice, contacted you 3 times, right? You haven't set the account balance to zero. You haven't paid my invoice.
Okay, so I'm about to
now
still follow my due.
Because now there's an open invoice that you agreed to that you haven't paid. So now I got to take you to court. But I don't want to take you to court. I want to settle. I don't care if it's 3 cents on a dollar, 2 cents on a dollar, 5 cents on a dollar. Please contact me immediately. Let's settle this thing. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to waste the court's time. The court is important, and this is the time with COVID and everything. I don't want to bother the judges. I don't want to bother the court. So let's settle this matter, please. Get back to me within 10 days, and let's settle this matter. Right? If I don't hear from you in 10 days, I may have to go ahead and pursue this thing in court. But I don't want to do that. So please get back to me, please. Right? So this letter, I want they're not going to respond. But this letter is the key to your enforcement, right? Because what happens is when they don't respond, they owe you $1,000. They've agreed to set the balance to zero, but they haven't done it, and they won't respond to you. It's like you're begging on bended knee, please communicate, please let's settle, please. You want the judge to have the mindset of, like, if the next step in enforcing it is to take the matter to small claims court for the $1,000, right? Because you can't have millions of dollars in small claims. You only want it to be for the $1,000. Hey, judge, they owe me $1,000. They won't pay. I've got all the receipts. I've got all the registered mail. I've got everything that shows that they've agreed to it, but they haven't paid me, judge. Please help me. I've tried to reach out. I've tried to negotiate. I've tried to connect. Maybe you can help me, judge. Please provide me summary judgment for the $1,000 and for the fact that my account hasn't been set to zero. Please provide me with summary judgment. And what summary judgment means is just go ahead and give the judgment without us having to all come to the courthouse or the courtroom. Just go ahead and have court judge in your chambers on your desk, and just go ahead and give me judgment for the $1,000 and for the zero balance on the debt on the debt that's owed, right? So here's the debt, right? On the debt that's owed. Just provide me the $1,000 because the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act law has been broken. So, judge, they broke the law. Here's a copy of the law. You include that in the small claims court case document. And you include all this in your small claims court document. So the judge has everything he or she needs to make the judgment without you having to come to the courtroom, right? And then you ask, since you're here, judge, and since they've agreed that there's no debt, please give me a judgment that the balance to be set to zero within 30 days. Right? Once the judge gives you the $1,000 and the balance set to zero, what'll happen is you'll take that judgment and you'll mail it to
quick pause. It's only
the customer service department at the debt collector and say, hey, look, this is the judgment from Judge Smith. Right? Judge Smith says, please set this account balance to zero, and so do that within 30 days. Otherwise, I'll report back to Judge Smith, and he'll hold you in contempt. Right? Nobody's going to go to jail. Contempt is jailable. Nobody's going to go to jail. They're going to do the court to the judgment. Right? The other thing is you want to contact the accounts payable department and say, hey, look, here's the judgment from Judge Smith. Please pay this $1,000 at the address above within 30 days. If you don't, I'm going to report back to Judge Smith, and he or she will hold you in contempt and jail you. Some people say, oh, yeah, Brad, it's not like they're going to pay. I don't know if you've ever heard of contempt. It's real, right? You don't disobey what a judge says, right? You do it.
I did see some people right there on that letter, or contempt in jail.
VP of accounts payable or what it is, and they will pay the debt, and this debt will go to zero. That's how it works. So now you're across. So if you already knew this information, awesome.
All right.
Go ahead and implement it, right? Read through the book, do everything it says, and implement it, right? But if you're a precious person who says, look, man, Brad, whoa, I didn't know all that. I didn't even know kind of where to begin or how to do it. And you need training in that. Just click the button below, and I provide the training about how to do it. I provide all the tips, tools, strategy, training, the templates, the one-on-one coaching. You can email me 24/7. Coaching, one-on-one coaching to walk your way through it. I also provide a group coaching every Wednesday at 1 p.m. where you can kind of tune into my private Facebook group. Because you got to pay, you got to be a client to be a part of my Facebook group, right? And so you can show up any Wednesday at 1 p.m. And what happens is ask your questions. And what will happen is I'll answer your questions right on the spot. One of the challenges when you deal with folks online selling stuff, right, is that you can't get a hold of them after. So for me, I put what's called fail-safe in my programs, where you have access to me via email 24/7. I give you a specific private email to get access to me where you can ask your questions 24/7, and I'll respond back to you within one business day. But at the same time, I show up every Wednesday at 1 this kind of stuff, and I answer it for you. So you get that one-on-one group coaching situation. But the other thing that's nice about that is you get to hear everybody else's questions as well, and so you begin to learn much more than you would just on your own. So it's an exponential growth in your learning process. So if you need the tips, the tools, the strategies, the templates, the everything, the letters, where you just fill in the blank or whatever the case is to do this, if you want to be able to reach out to me and get one-on-one coaching, if you want to be able to ask your questions 24/7, if you want to be in a situation where you have that group coaching situation where you can call every Wednesday at 1, you don't have to run me down, you just have to show up at Wednesday at 1 and ask the questions and get your questions answered. That's awesome. I want to be here for you. So if you need that kind of help, click below, join the program. But what's nice is this is just the debt collection piece, right? But to live in a private, you're also going to want information about how do I correct my citizenship status? How do I get on the do not detain list? How do I avoid get on the list where they can't foreclose on me? How do I get on the list where I correct my status and I have a what's called an unending 24/7 what do you call it? Concealed carry right to concealed carry, right? Without having to apply for it. That all goes under citizenship status correction. But also, I provide you with the tips, tools, strategy, the templates, and everything, fill in the blank to create your live life claim. But here's the thing.
Okay, tell me again. What?
Be down, you just have to show up at Wednesday to 1 and ask the questions and get your questions answered. That's awesome. I want to be here for you. So if you need that kind of help, click below, join the program. But what's nice is this is just the debt collection piece, right? But to live in a private, you're also going to want information about how do I correct my citizenship status? How do I get on the do not detain list? How do I avoid get on the list where they can't foreclose on me? How do I get on the list where I correct my status and I have a what's called an unending 24/7 what do you call it? Concealed carry right to concealed carry, right? Without having to apply for it. That all goes under citizenship status correction. But also, I provide you with the tips, tools, strategy, the templates, and everything, fill in the blank to create your live life claim. But here's the thing. Under this STQV trust, if you are a dead straw man, you don't have the right to contract. Why? You're dead, right? So you have to create your live life claim in order to become alive, and we need to get it registered globally so that the whole world knows that you have the right to contract. Right? So if you even do this, but you're not looked at alive, a living man or woman, then you're still out. You're still out. You gotta get that. So in there, not only the citizenship status correction, but also how to create your live life claim. But also your UCC1.
I'm
right?
alive.
How to get that done and completed in
The
about
heck
20
y'all about
minutes,
to
right?
make me
Some
go
people
to
are
jail
told
for
you
being
done
fake
all this
kids.
kind of stuff. And there's a lot that
People
can
just
be
don't know
fixed.
they living in
But to just
Monopoly.
get your application done and properly done takes about 20 minutes. So I
I'm
walk you
alive.
through
I'm right here.
status
Dead people
training,
can't talk.
step by step, one-on-one, ABC, tips, the tools, the strategies, the templates, the fill in the blank, the one-on-one training, the week, Wednesday to 1. You can send me the email 24/7. I respond back within one business day. All of that regarding
I'm at the fan Brad for y'all on Facebook. So y'all can fan
all that
Brad.
regarding your UCC1, and all that regarding anything that has to do with debt, your debt relief. So I'm here for you. So if you already know how to do this, great. Take the book, run with it, create your promissory notes, remove your debt, settle your debt, and get going, right? So you don't, what I'm here for today, kind of leave, scroll below, click below, Promissary Notes, tips, tools, strategies, downloads, and just to let you know, once you join, what's going to happen is within 60 minutes of joining, you're going to receive what's called a welcome email. It's going to be, hey, I am Brad, welcome.
Brad.
I want to make sure that I'm recording here. Please forgive me if I'm kind of looking away from the camera. Man.
He explained all that in one thing.
All right. So it looks like I am live because it looks like I just recorded everything live and I wasn't receiving any comments in the comment box. I thought, man, that is really odd. So I'm re-recording. So I am live, and if you do have questions for me today, you're welcome to reach out. My name is Brad Tipton. I'm the admin of this site, this group, and I'm here to answer any questions for you.
I'm running
You
late
guys
because
got
I
his
actually
name.
recorded a
Better go
full
find
session
him on
for you, but
Facebook.
apparently it didn't record, so I'm recording it now. But if you do have questions, please just pop them into the chat box now. Answer any questions that pop up. I'll be looking for those. And so the subject matter I really want to talk, well, the subject I would like to cover today is a book that is in your resource section that I wrote. And in the when you log into the members area and you scroll down to the resources area, you'll find many of my books that I've written. And one of the books that is in there that I wrote is a book called Void My Case. And that's a book that shows you and walks you through how to void any type of a judgment that you have had that you thought was unfair. Now, I must admit, it's only for cases where there was no true human living injured party. So it's not like you can beat somebody up and then use the principles in that book to uh, remove the judgment, right? It's not like you can use that resource. So in that resource section, as you sign in and log into the members area, in the resources area, you can scroll down, find the resources area, and then you can find the book inside there called Void My Case. And that's the book that shows you how to void a judgment where you feel like you were wrongly treated or are being wrongly treated, where somebody's trying to take your house or take your car or take you to court for some reason. You can either get the case dismissed using that, or if the case is already passed and there's a judgment that's gone on and been entered into the record, you can reopen it using those principles that are in that book called Void My Case and get that case reopened and hopefully turned into your favor. So let's cover that. So the basic premise of that book is that with any court case, any judgment that's out there, the judgment, I call it, it stands on what I call four legs. So if it's a table, let's pretend that this cell phone is a table and that it has four legs under it, holding it up, making it nice and steady. Well, if any of those legs are missing, if it doesn't have four solid, steady, full legs, then that table will teeter and fall over, which means that the case is void. So the four legs that must be under all court cases are these four. And I'll go into them in more detail. And the first two are super easy. One is you have to have a plaintiff. Second, of course, you have to have a defendant. Third, you have to have what's called subject matter jurisdiction. And fourth, you have to have what's called a competent witness. So, I mean, a plaintiff is easy. There must be somebody who's bringing the case, somebody who claims that they are being harmed. And they're usually the one who opens the case, they file the claim, and you receive notice that there's a claim against you. Now, when there's a claim against you, that means you are the defendant, right? Or your straw man is the defendant. And so, plaintiff and the defendant is absolutely necessary for a case to stand. The other thing that's necessary for a case to stand, other than a plaintiff and a defendant, is what's called subject matter jurisdiction. So there must be a reason why we're all gathered in that courtroom. There must be a reason for the court claim to have even been filed. And so that reason is what's called the subject matter. That's the subject matter of the entire thing. And what's interesting about the subject matter is that in most cases that I've seen over the last 4 years, working with over 2,000, almost 2,000 clients, I've never seen a case where there was any subject matter jurisdiction. I've never seen one at all. And so to give an idea of subject matter jurisdiction, let's say that there's a debt. Let's say there's a house, and they claim that you owe a debt and that you owe the mortgage and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, one of the first things that you want to do when you notice that there's a claim that's coming against you, you want to begin to get and assemble what's called discovery, right? And what that means is you have the right to reach out and ask for proof of things, right? So that once we all get to court, everybody has all their ducks in a row. So you are allowed to say, look, to reach out to the attorney and say, look, I'm looking for discovery. I need discovery in this particular area. I need discovery in that particular area. So you let them know in writing, and of course you alert the court as well, that you need this particular discovery so that when we all arrive in court, that discovery is there. And one of the things that you want to always request is for a statement of account, right? You want a statement of account, sometimes called the forensic accounting of the ledger. And all that really means is that we need to have some sort of an accounting of the ledger. So let's say that there's account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that the debt that this lender has, and in their account, they have $10 million, right, in this account, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say it's January 1st, and on January 1st, there's $10 million in the account. And then as a result, they lent you, let's say, $1 million of that money. So at the end of that day, they only had $9 million left in their account because they loaned you $1 million. And what you also want to request as part of your discovery is the accounting of the ledger of the account where they loaded the money. So there's not only should there be account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 where there was $1 million or $10 million, they loaned you $1 million and they were left with $9 million, but there also needs to be an account where there was zero balance on January the 2nd, and because of them loaning you money, boom, now as cash is in that account. That's what's called a statement of account. And you know it. I mean, you've got a checking account, a savings account. You know that if you start the month with $10,000 in there, and then you can just see the statement of the account. You went to Walmart, you spent $50. You went to the gas station, you spent another $50. You went to McDonald's, and that was $8. And you did a cash ATM withdrawal, and that was $100. I mean, you can see the accounting of the ledger. And so what you're asking for, a statement of the ledger, accounting of the ledger, forensic accounting of the ledger, when you ask for that kind of discovery, that should be something that they should easily be able to provide. Now, here's the thing about it. That account doesn't exist. That information doesn't exist. And so what that means is there's no subject matter. So when they drag you into court, I mean, they're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, but you always want to say something to the effect of, respectfully, Judge, before we move forward, I'd like to see the statement of account so that we can establish that there's actually subject matter jurisdiction. There's actually a reason for us to be here. There's actually a debt that we're talking about. Now, the attorney or whoever's in the courtroom will say, oh, no, here's the promissory note, or here's the closing documents. But here's the deal. The promissory note is a promise to pay a debt. It's a promise to pay a debt. See, it points to the debt, but it is not the debt. It's the promise to pay the debt. So the promise is over here, and it's pointing to the debt that's over here. It's a promise to pay the debt, but it is not the debt. What you're looking for is not the promise to pay the debt. I'm looking for proof of the debt, and that's where the statement of account comes in. That provides the proof, but the reality is that doesn't exist because they never loaned you any money, because there is no money to loan, right? You get that. So you say, and so they may try to bring up all these different things. She signed or he signed it or they promised or whatever, but the reality is that there's no proof. And so once they cannot provide the proof, all you simply do is say, Judge, they haven't provided proof. They haven't provided subject matter jurisdiction of why they are due any money from me. There is no proof. Therefore, Judge, I move that you close this case respectfully in my favor and provide me with what's called satisfaction. And satisfaction just means that the debt collector or the lender has to provide you with your free and clear title to your house or to your car, or with a letter that says that the balance is zero. So you're asking the judge to go ahead and find in your favor and provide you with a judgment that there is no debt and that you are due satisfaction. And so that's how that works. So that's subject matter jurisdiction. So subject matter jurisdiction means that there must be proof of the thing. There must be proof of the debt. If there's no proof of a debt, right, we're all in court because of the debt, right? They're bringing you and dragging you to court because of the debt. But if nobody can provide proof of the debt, then there's no subject matter. There's no subject matter that's bringing us together. The thing that's bringing us all together in the court, Judge, is the debt. But they haven't provided proof of the debt. So since there is no debt, Judge, I'm just respectfully asking you to go ahead and find and close this case in my favor and provide and ask this
no debt.
Lender to provide.
Once you get the asset and the loan, the asset and the loan are separate. You still can keep the asset and not claim the debt, or
the fourth thing, if you do have questions that you need me to answer, that's why I'm here.
do due diligence to just get them to offset the loan if you want to keep it onto your credit report, or you can not claim the loan in the first
place. Is that you actually get answers to your questions, right? So I'm not like a lot of gurus out there who are like hiding in the background.
We can read our own stuff in our own brain.
Here I am, right here, to answer your questions. So please make sure if you have questions that you pop them there in the chat box. I'll answer any questions that you may have, because I want to make sure that you know
That
how
was
to
the
feel.
end of that.
If
Hope you
you are watching this on
guys
the replay,
learned.
pop them in there anyway. I'll get a notice. Or I was there and I saw Brad walk in.
That was too bad. So I learned a lot today. That was interesting. So yeah, I learned about promissory notes and how to start my case. I'm gonna do the best consumer lawyer ever. It's really easy to beat all of these cases. If you read the law slowly, I could beat any case. Within there's no criminal. Okay, so I'm about to get off this live. So that was a little bit of interesting stuff. If you guys want to do more research, I will tell you guys that you can go to. Excuse me. What's wrong? What's wrong? Let me close this live right quick. Why are you doing that? Alright. So you guys can do more research. You guys going to read the Federal Reserve Act. You guys can go read the Bill of Rights. There's so many acts you guys can just look up. I don't know what kind of situations or bills you guys got paid. Like, there's acts for everything. But even without the acts, you guys can learn about equity law, trust law, or read the Sister K. Vi Act of 1666. I like to look up on YouTube. I like to follow Credit Gotti, Amanza, and who else do I follow? And
We're going to be talking about this idea. That's the idea that your mentor,
Rick, the Wealth Coach 5727.
For all of us to go to the next level in life.
He has an episode on trust that's really good. And then, like I said, you guys can go to Manza's page. That's my future ex-baby daddy. Let me see. I don't know why I just said that because I heard somebody else say that and I got it too, but I don't know if y'all can go to Tech with Me. That's what I call him. His name not Tech with Me. His name is Shaquan.
This video gonna be about
He got some good things.
mistakes, certain credit for a loan process.
So it's up to y'all to do y'all research. If y'all don't want to research, you want to just listen to stuff, you can also go on YouTube and they can read the Constitution to you, Bill of Rights. They even got stuff for the kids on here. You want to talk to? Okay. Do we pay bills, Royal? No. Do we pay bills with our income? No bills for no income. Learn how to do what, Royal? Endorse the bill. Say it with mommy. Say, endorse the bill. Learn how to endorse your bill. What is a promissory note? What is a tender? What is a security deposit? What does a signature mean? What does an application mean? They gotta go look it up, Royal. What is a debenture? What is indebtedness?
What is a breach of contract?
What is a breach of trust?
But
What does it mean to modify something? What does it mean to amend something?
we have to know all of this.
Because we should care. What is the purpose of an EIN? What's the purpose of an LLC? What's a trust account? What's an irrevocable trust? What's a revocable trust? What are taxes? Who pays taxes? What's the borrower? Who is the borrower? I don't know. Yeah. How do you avoid being called a, what do you call it? Truant person. What is a stamp? Do you go by the Stamp Act? Do you keep receipts? Do you know how to do your own taxes? Do you know your rights? Do you know what an indentured trustee is? Do you know who the IRS is? Do you think the IRS is your friend or not your friend? Do you know how to make the IRS work for you and not against you? Do you know what UCC 73415 says? The application of endorsement is without recourse after your name. There's so much to learn. So much. It's like you gotta know how to use it. So good. Now that is why I say I want to retire at age 44 because this is so much stuff to learn. Excuse me, what are you doing? Okay, I'm about to get off of here. Alright. Ciao.
Say bye-bye, Roy.
Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.